Hello to my beautiful family of light, love, peace, truth, trust, harmony, all of you courageous beings who are here on the planet with me at this time. It's really nice to have good company, and thank you for joining me today. My name is Claudia, and if you're coming back, I'm happy to have you, and if you're a first-time visitor, I'm happy to have you. Always happy to have you here. Oh, I'm sticking out all over the place. Sorry about that. So this is a continuation of yesterday's video on spending 5 days in a emergency cold weather shelter, basically a homeless shelter. And so this is kind of a new adventure for me. And I was explaining before that I am the adventure model. I'm very curious about the world and how it functions and how people function. I know I sometimes don't hardly function at all. I don't know what to tell you about that, but I'm always happy to wake up, open my eyes, and realize that I get another shot at this day. So anyhow, yeah, interesting that I've ended up there in this particular place, and during a snap of cold where we dipped down into the 20s, and that for us is pretty unusual. We're in the Pacific Northwest in a little pocket that usually does not get extreme or severe weather. In fact, for as long as I know, there's not even a snowplow or a snow truck. We rely on the good fellows in the neighborhoods to help keep those things. And they may have rectified that by now, but yeah, I mean, that's how little cold weather we get. Average low temperature, I think 42 degrees. Average highs 72, something like that. Anyhow, I'm going to just give you some more information about my experience in being in a place that is so unfamiliar to me. This is turf that I know nothing about and am learning about the body, the mind, and the spirit's involvement. And I have forgotten my thing to, this is going to be a little jumpy because I forgot the stand that holds this, and so if I get shaky in a few minutes, it's because I'm going to have to change arms. Anyhow, what a life, right? Okay, so one of the things I noticed, especially day by day 2, was I was proverbially cold. You're given a cot and a blanket. I happen to have layers that I could put on. I've lived in the Rocky Mountains and in different various places, and that dry cold is different than the moisture-laden cold that we get in the Pacific Northwest on the coast, and so, or in the inland waters. It's just damp. It's damp all the time. And so I have not warmed up in quite a while. My toes are proverbially cold. My hands and fingers, I notice my neck and shoulders have really been bothering me. And so, I'm in my 70s, so what can I say? That might be natural. But yeah, being cold all the time means you gotta move. You gotta be moving around most of the time. I did happen to go see, I will tell you that that it's hard in an emergency shelter where the men and women are all thrown into one room and you've got a cot and a blanket. Some have pillows. It's hard for me to get more than an hour's worth of sleep. My antenna are up and I am on alert, not for danger so much as curiosity. I'm not prone to being afraid of things. I certainly can hold that off on the side, saying, be cautious and be aware. But getting any bit of sleep, and being a mother, so I'm aware of things going on around me. I wake up and I say, is this something you need to pay attention to? And then I go back to sleep. I don't know how you are would be in a situation like this, but it's, to me, it's pretty interesting. So basically the first couple of days and nights, I just was adjusting to circumstances and situations and learning how I need to cope as somebody who relies on a deep spirituality, God protecting me and watching out for me, guiding me if there is a danger or something I need to, steer clear of. The other thing is I notice the holes, and I have been, I think, for most of my life, a hole plugger. Every job I've ever had, I always end up finding where the holes are that need to be patched. And so where there's inadequate help or staffing, it's easy for me to just jump in, right, and help out and say, here, I could hand those out for you, or why don't you let me stir that pot while where I could see that there were individuals needing the paid help attention, and so here, let me do this while you do that. And so that's the other thing. And as soon as I notice that, as soon as I get going on something and my mind is occupied without paying attention to really what's going on out there, and I can do both pretty easily, that it all of a sudden is much better. There's an improvement, doing something for someone else, helping others. And I'm reminded of a little prayer. I don't need to give you the whole thing, but it's others, Lord, yes, others. Let this my motto be, that I may do for others as thou hast done for me. And so, that, to me, that became important over the time that I was there. And so I pitched in as much as I could. I get tired if the days are long and I need a rest, and it's impossible during the day to take a 20-minute nap. And I can usually, sleep, close my eyes and rest for 20 minutes and feel rested, but I was having trouble doing that. So, and then on one of the days, I had a conversation with the manager, and we talked about funding and why it was so short-staffed. And apparently, nobody can foresee the weather. Nobody can foresee how many people are going to be needing shelter, clothing, and this place takes in, food, bedding, clothing of all different sizes in good shape, and they'll clean them up. They have the ability for a couple of people to shower and get cleaned up. They do not have laundry facilities. They don't have really good facilities for housing people, and they can't keep people overnight. So there's a lot of disruptions during the day. You're checked in, and if you're there, you're under the house rules. You can check out, but you have to be back by a certain time in order to be placed on a list for overnight lodging, and a lot of people don't make it in time for that and show up late. And there is a shortage of beds and food to handle the overflow. It's pretty difficult, really, to watch and experience such huge things that happen with people who are physically and mentally handicapped, who have, challenges of all different kinds. And then there are those who are perfectly capable of thinking logically, rationally, taking care of themselves, and have had unfortunate circumstances that have eliminated that possibility. And my prayer is that that's a temporary situation for whoever encounters that. So what I want to say at this time is that over the time I've been there are lots of holes in the process, some of them easily remedied, and some not so easy. We all know that if you've been a volunteer, or that you do or are currently a volunteer, you know that it almost always falls to a handful of people who become dedicated. And of course, what they need is people like that. A number of people, if I could say a half a dozen in this particular case, to handle the day and the nighttime. One person is doing night, one person is doing day, and the one person often has a little bit of help in the day, but the nighttime person rarely has help. It's up to those of us who are upright, mobile, and willing to lend a hand and help to see that everything goes smoothly. So we know about that. Money, you can throw money at stuff, but money isn't always the answer. We need to teach people how to fish, as the saying goes, so that they can feed themselves. Well, that's the homeless population. And if you're drug addicted or addicted in some way, then it's very difficult to see a person's way out of that and into any other form of living. They may want to, but it's pretty hard to beat the tug of addiction. So that you have that to deal with. You have funding problems, and so I was able to get enough information together to post I guess a request, you could say. I posted some information about shelters this time of year. Winter is probably the worst, because you have people dying out on the street because of cold weather and inadequate clothing, and you need a roof over your head really to be safe. So I was able to just say, look, whatever town you are in, whatever community you're at, please look at the homeless population, offer call them and ask what the needs are. Sometimes it's clothing, some jackets or hats or gloves, or all of the above, or t-shirts and underwear and socks. For a number of years, I've purchased socks from a company in New York. A couple of fellows started it. For every pair of socks you buy, they will donate a pair of socks to homeless people. So socks was the number one thing requested in New York, and I can see why. So food, it is always wonderful. However, it doesn't really make too much sense to show up with 20 pounds of sugar when what they need is something else. So before you make food donations, or your church has a fundraiser for food, donating food, check with your local shelters and see what it is they really need. And in our case, it's money to get an additional staff member in, trained and able to do the work long term. So paid helps. Whereas volunteers, if the weather turns bad, they may not want to drive on the roads, and so you've got that to deal with too. anyhow, there are lots and lots of holes in these systems, and it is out the kindness and generosity of your hearts and minds that people can make it through another day and go on to hopefully live a little better life. Things are upside down and inside out on the earth right now. It's just my feeling about how I feel about how things are going, and not really the best way to feel about it, is it? Anyhow, I'm upright, I'm mobile, and still able to take nourishment and to talk about it a little bit. So that's what I want to share with you for now. What the only other thing I want to say is, do not lose your hope. When you lose faith, when you don't have faith, then hope disappears. And that's the other thing I'm encountering, is spending quite a bit of time with individuals and hearing their stories and trying to boost their morale a bit. So do that. Be kind. Remember to be kind and generous, and squeeze out another nickel if you can, and help somebody along the way. Okay, that's my story for now of the shelter, and I'm going to go on to other things. I think that's about it. I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm expanding, and certainly am finding out a lot about myself. And that's one of the things that when you're able to push through a fear, when one is able to push through a fear, there is information for you on the other side of that will expand your awareness, increase your intelligence quotient, and will help you to be more compassionate and understanding, hopefully not only with yourself but with others. So thank you so much for watching. You know that I love you. This is half of a heart, right? And then my arms go all the way around the world. I have so much love, compassion, and joy for you and for the possibilities that you represent in being a light upon this earth. Thank you for watching. And if you want more information, just click on the information down below the button. It's not a button, it's the information about this particular video, and it'll give you how you can get a hold of me, what else I have, the number of ways in which I can help you. And thank you very much for joining me. Have a wonderful day, wonderful life. Remember what a caring, compassionate, loving being that you are, and share that with the world. It's how we're going to make a difference. Thank you. I will see you next time. Bye.